Well, hello and welcome to round 2 of TCR in Season 17 here at Phoenix SimSport. We're at the Zolder circuit of Belgium. Yes, that's where we are. It's been a bit of a chaotic, well, yes, very chaotic start to the stream as well as to the server because the usual league owner and manager, Maverick, is on a leave this week, so we had to move to a different server, which means a lot of drivers, unfortunately, will not have their liveries ready for this round. We apologize for that, as well as a few drivers are still having connection issues, which I also do apologize for here. But yes, I also do not have a championship standing graphic because I don't have time to make one, as we were dealing with all sorts of issues as Tasos gets onto the grass and spins in the final sector. That is unfortunate for the Greek driver, who is currently, I believe, leading the championship alongside Marcel Miku. The pair of them splitted a first place and a third place in round 1 at oh god, what was the circuit? Oschersleben, of course. So we're tied at the top of the standings, 80 points so far for both drivers, as Marcel Miku slides into turn 1 into the gravel, so this lap is done and dusted. Christian Schabowski currently second place. Purple Sector 1 currently also third place in the championship after a brilliant second and fourth in the opening round at Oschersleben. So he has, we are checking, 60 points under his name. The same amount of points as Vasilius Pernetis, incidentally. So we have a tie for first place in terms of points, we have a tie for third place in terms of the points. And they basically got top 4 wrapped up in both of the opening rounds at Oschersleben. So let's see if they can continue their domination of the TCR series here at Phoenix SimSport in Season 17, as they are currently dominating in the top 4 in qualifying. So let's have a look at Sklias, who's actually on outlap. So Marcel Miku's this lap is a bit scuffed of this error at turn number 1. But yes, I have something else to check, so bear with me for a moment. No, this has been chaotic. I'm not the usual TCR commentator. In fact, I was one of the drivers in round 1. As Marcel Miko couldn't improve on his third to last lap. He has 2 more laps to go. This time cleaner through turn 1. How about Jabowski then? Is he improving further? Let's see, as the Honda driver, unfortunately not in his usual livery, couldn't go faster on this lap, but as 136.5 would have been on pole position as well if he hasn't set a faster lap previously. Germanos Tsachakis, who couldn't improve on his also third to last lap. Got more drivers going around, as that is Leila Petralia coming across the line to start her first flying lap of the session. Anyway, yeah, okay. Let's go on board with the Italian driver. We'll keep an eye out always Sclias. I don't know why the camera, okay, maybe this camera is a bit better, but he's not holding a steering wheel in the onboard from the box to box. That looks very scary. On the left side panel, we're just gonna go, we're not gonna use that boxing this series, I don't think. Sclias across the line, fastest final sector, and he goes P2. Just 42 thousandths of a second behind Christian Jabowski, who is also trying to push on his penultimate lap of the session. As Jack Smith now up into P6 ahead of Manos Tachakis. Jabowski raises the bar by a hundredth of a second, in fact, not even a tenth. It's a 136.390 for the Greek driver. Got Tachakis up to P5 with a 137.5, so we've got 4, I believe. Yeah, 4 Greek drivers inside the top 5, surrounding Marcel Miko. Petralia now moves up into P7, just 700 ahead of Jack Smith, and she's blown it on her final lap, so that is her qualifying down and dusted. Jabowski setting a purple sector in the first sector, as the Honda Civic driver now jumps down the hill through turn 6, the fast left-hander now towards the chicane of turn 7. The car getting bouncy, using a lot of the curbs there. It's got a good exit though, very clean from Jabowski. Let's first have a look at Sclias going through the final chicane. He's not gone purple, but he does have a personal best sector 2. Sclias across the line, he cannot improve. Next up, Delavianco, currently P last. And he's about to start his final flying lap, just about in time. Marcel Miko had decided to smash into the wall because he's not happy with his qualifying performance. Pernetis across the line, can't beat Marcel Miko. Jabowski, I don't think. He doesn't even need to improve, but he does by a thousandth. Did he improve by a thousandth of a second? The consistency is crazy. I guess Sclias has one final lap and he's done the best sector 1. Maybe I've said it too soon. Maybe Jabowski hasn't had it wrapped up yet, as welcome Maxim Baldage into the Twitch chat. Sclias on his final lap, as per usual, the CMRT broadcast do not have deltas in the overtime phase of the qualifying session, so we'll have to purely guess how fast he is going, as Thomas Coops improves his time but not position. So the Dutch driver will be starting from P9 ahead of Teotor Petru, another Greek contender in the server. And we've got Audi going off, that is Delavianco on his final attempt. Unfortunately, couldn't improve to surge past Brian Hazard. As Tasos Sclias going across the line, can he beat Christian Jabowski? No, he cannot. So it will be an all-Greek front row. Christian Jabowski leading by just under 600ths of a second on Tasos Sclias. Marcel Miko absolutely destroyed after his unfortunate final lap. I'm just going to look at Jabowski's lap time. A 136.405, a 136.390, and finally a 136.389. 3 laps that would be fast enough for pole position. Christian Jabowski is absolutely going for it. He currently trails Marcel Miku and Taste of Skilias by 20 points. But he could take the championship lead if he wins the race tonight, because we only have one race, a 45-minute long race tonight. It's all under the hands of Christian Jabowski to see if he can, well, if he can do the business. And thank you to Leila Petralia for subscribing with Prime. A 5th-month subscription is very incredible. Thank you very much, Leila, for the support in the Twitch stream, as we are half a minute away from being on the grid of this 13-car TCR race at Zolder tonight. As I sent myself into the pit lane really fast, Jabowski, who unfortunately doesn't have his skin loaded tonight, is on pole position. Now, if he wins the race without his skin, maybe, just maybe, he should race with a default skin in the future races, but I don't think he's mythic like that. However, it will be Jabowski and Skilias leading us down towards turn 1. A rather tricky left-hander. You have to brake earlier than you think in this Zolder circuit. We've then got Marcel Miku starting on the second row alongside Pernetis. Got Sachakis alongside Coops. On the third row, there'll be Leila Petralia in the Alfa Romeo alongside Jack Smith in the Audi. Got the other Coops brother alongside Sildo Petru, as well as Kazulov, Hazard, and Delavianco at the end of the grid. But now we must focus at the front. The lights go out, and who is that gone? Somebody has disappeared. Pernetis has jumped the start, I think, and Marcel Miku has a brilliant start. And down towards turn 1, Marcel Miku takes the lead from 3rd place. What a fantastic start from the Czech driver. We've had trouble. That is Jack Smith around. Jack Smith has been turned around alongside Kazulov at turn 1. That is unfortunate, but now the Greek do battle. All of the Greeks together, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Skilias now challenging Jabowski down the inside of turn 3, and he's got the overlap, and Skilias is clear ahead of the Honda driver of Jabowski, but Jabowski is not backing off. Jabowski going to try to go back around the outside. We've got a 3-way fight for 4th place, and one of them has cut the circuit almost. That is Tsachakis, who has to avoid hitting the 2 battling front. So Marcel Miku now has a 2.7 second lead. Incredible from Marcel Miku, as now Coops trying to look down the inside. As Deravianco sending it on the other Coops brother. That is Stefan Coops in P5, Thomas Coops in P7, but Theodore Petru, unfortunately missing his livery tonight as well, in the Audi at the back end of this pack in P8. So, we're approaching the end of the first lap. We have got a 2.6 second lead for Marcel Miku on Taste of Skilias. Jabowski has been dropped slightly by Skilias. The gap now between P2 and P3 is up to 1.2 seconds. Everybody just settling into their rhythm. And Leila Petralia now down in P12 in her Alfa Romeo, which I believe is the only one in the grid. Now trying to pressurize the Honda of Kazulov up ahead. And let's see if she can make a dive down towards turn number 1. Kazulov defends the inside line, so Leila is forced to go around the outside and try to get the cutback. Kazulov slows down quite a lot on exit, and that is a brilliant run from Leila Petralia. Beg your pardon, got Coops and Deravianco battling. Why is the camera so weird? This camera is better from Deravianco's onboard. As Petralia continue to battle, let's focus on this Audi inter-team battle. Well, they're not actually in the same team. It's just they have the same very I don't know what the word is, metal livery, I guess. But anyway, Petralia now challenging Kazulov in towards the chicane. Kazulov once again covering the middle line. Oh, jumps on the on the curb really aggressively from the Hyundai driver, and now Petralia to the inside of turn 6. This is brave. She's put 2 wheels on the grass, and now into turn 7. She's on the wrong line. Kazulov defending really well, but he's gone off. He's gone off. He's gone offline and smashed into the barrier, and that means Panetis, who jumped the start, I think, has recovered back up to P12, but that is very, very damning for his championship hopes. He trails by 20 points going into this round, but he's set to lose huge points to Marcel Miku, Tesos Skrias, as well as Christian Jabowski at the front of the pack. Battles for P6 now. Thomas Krups must have made a mistake there because Theodor Petru has now passed him into P6. We've got Stefan Krups setting the fastest lap of the race as he now puts on a lot of pressure on Manos Tsachakis. The Renault Megane is going really well tonight. Of course, Stefan Krups only finishing. Well, he did finish P6, to be fair, in race 1 at Oschersleben, so he's got pace, and he's looking to push that P6 a bit higher, maybe into P4 tonight at Zolder. Into the pit lane goes Panetis. Oh, and he's reversing. What a disaster for P4 in the championship this is. He's still reversing. What's happened to Vasilis Panetis? He can't get into his grid box, it seems. This is very, very bizarre. His race is surely wrong now. I think he's made a pit stop and is now going out of the pit. Of course, this is a long race. There's still 40 minutes remaining, but he's going to be almost lapped at this rate. It is a disaster for Vasilis Panetis. What on earth happened to the Greek driver? Gap at the front has closed down again. Tesos Skrias now only trailing Marcel Miku by 1.3 seconds as Tsachakis loses the control in the final chicane. And that's going to give Stefan Krups a run down towards the start-finish straight. But Tsachakis fends off the inside line, fends off the position of Dusty. He's gone too wide, he's braked too late, locked up the rest. And Stefan Krups is through into P4. The pressure piling technique works by the Megane driver, but now he has a 3-second gap to try to close in on Jabowski and Skrias, who is definitely faster than Marcel Miku at this stage of the race. The gap down to 1.1 seconds at the front of the pack. We've got the boxing box with Thomas Krups now trying to send a dive on Theodor Petru into the turn 5 chicane. Petru has to open up the door, and Krups just about stayed alongside. This battle will continue towards turn 6, a very fast left-hander. Both drivers will keep their throttle pinned. And now into turn 7, it's Petru on the inside, barging Krups out of the way. But now he's gone offline slightly, so Krups should get the better exit. And this battle will continue for the next 38 minutes and counting probably. Now Krups getting the better run once again. Now down towards turn 8, Krups just looking to the inside, trying to show in the mirror of Petru up ahead, but Petru got a great exit and the gap is back up to 0.4 of a second. How about Tsachakis? After getting passed by Stefan Krups, the Hyundai driver has kept his cool. Skrias, that's the fastest lap of the race, a 1:36.954. That is almost qualifying pace that's been set by Skrias, who is now on race fuel. That is remarkable by Skrias, and the gap is now down to 0.8 of a second. Incredible as Krups has made the move. Krups has made the dive down into turn 1, and he's passed Theodor Petru up into P6. Those Krups, both Krups brothers making inroads in the early part of the race. We've got battle for P9 hotting up as well. Jack Smith, after getting involved in incident at turn 1 on the opening lap of the race, is now caught up to the back of the Megane driver Brian Hassad. And you can see Jack Smith just visibly closing the gap through the corners. They've also got Nikita Derivienko just up ahead of them. So Jack Smith now pulls to the inside. Brian Hazard is not interested in defending that position. He knows Jack Smith is faster, and Jack Smith takes P9 away really easily, and the gap at the front down to 0.5 of a second. All pressure for Marcel Miku, who had a 5-second lead in the MX5 race we just did in race 2 at Cadwell Park, but a mistake over a jump meant the gap went from 5 to 0.5, and eventually Marcel Miku only finished third in that race. He had a lead in this event early on by getting that his trademark rocket ship start, but look at the time Skilias has gained through turn 10. The final chicane seems to be Marcel Miku's Achilles heel, and he can't defend the inside line. Skilias to the inside, change for the lead. Marcel tries to hang around the outside. There's no space there, and Skilias takes the lead. And as it stands, he will take a 28-point advantage going into round 3, which will of course happen next Friday at Oulton Park. Marcel Miku is not giving up yet, down towards the turn 5 chicane. Skilias just feeling the need to fend off the middle line. Marcel Miku once again over the jumps. The car just doesn't stick as much as he wants to, and this battle meant Christian Jabowski is lurking just behind the pair of them. We now turn our attention momentarily to the Saudi battle between Jack Smith and Nikita Derivienko. Derivienko is a car on the outside. He does brake later, but he's caught the curb wrong, so Jack Smith will get the better run coming out of the corner. Now let's see if he can hang it around there. He needs to be there to get the inside line for the turn 7 chicane, which Jack Smith does. And Derivienko tries to turn in, but there's the Audi on the inside on the apex. So a position loss for Derivienko. After P8 goes the Polish driver of Jack Smith. Back to the front, Marcel Miku once again losing time in the final chicane. The car just doesn't stick under him, and Jabowski is closing the gap down to 0.3 of a second. It looks like Marcel Miku is probably looking at a third place at best, because Jabowski, if don't forget, was the pole sitter. As Brian Hazard also passes Derivienko. I missed that from the small box. Something must have happened to Derivienko to drop 3 seconds, because they were nose to tail a moment ago, as Theodore Petru, after getting passed by Thomas Koops, has well, basically gone with Thomas Koops. The pair of them, of course, 8 seconds away from the pack up ahead. Stefan Koops has got a bit of a gap on Manos Tsachakis. But again, apologies for butchering any of the names, because I am not a Greek expert. In fact, English isn't even my native language, so yeah, if I butcher your name, please forgive me, or send me how to correctly pronounce your name in my DM, then I can try to do better next time. But yeah, the top 3 are Linus Stern now. Marcel Miku is faster in the first 2 sectors, he just is too slow in the final chicane. He keeps losing about 0.4 in that final chicane, as Petru now closes the gap on T Koops. 0.5 is the gap as they go through turn 7. Oh, T Koops just running a bit wide through turn 9, that is, I believe. So around for Theodore Petru. The top 3 still running line astern. Let's see. Thomas Koops has to defend the inside line towards turn 10. If Petru can set it up, he'll get a better run. But Koops spots his braking point perfectly, hitting the apex fantastically. And Petru doesn't really get that much of a run coming out of the final corner. We've also got battles for P4 closing in as well. Tsachakis has found a bit of pace. So both Koops brothers now under pressure. Lock up into turn 1. Not a problem for Thomas Koops. Stefan Koops only 0.4 of a second ahead of Tsachakis now. We've got 3 separate battles going on at the circuit inside the top 7 positions. Of course, the top 3 in the same group, but then got 4th versus 5th, as well as 6th versus 7th. A lot of curb jumping there for both Skilias and Miku and Jabowski. You can really be aggressive on the curb in these TCR cars. but if you use them wrong, they can also bite you. Just you can see the compression, the suspension just walking hard over all of these curbs and sausages and bumps. But so far, so good for top 3 in the championship. Vasilis Panetis has retired from the session, unfortunate for us, 4th place in the championship. Whatever happened at the start, we got teleported to the pits and then we had to reverse in the pits after lap 1 as well. So that was, well, not ideal for Panetis, who unfortunately has to retire tonight as Zolder. Into the final chicane once again. Marcel Miku, you can see he can't get the power down on the accent. Look at the run Jabalski has. Jabalski is now closer to Marcel Miku than Marcel Miku to Tesos Skalias. Meanwhile, Thomas Coops has been passed. Theodore Petrol up into P6. Oh! He's almost hit him. Thomas Coops almost drilled the back of Theodore Petrol. He knew it. Petrol is off himself. In turn 2. And Thomas Coops says, thank you very much. P6 is mine again. Wow, that was a very quick turn of events for Thomas Coops as well as Theodore Petrol. Got trouble for Delavianco. He's gone off at turn 1, so that's P10 now. The free position for Leila Petrali, the Italian. Meanwhile, at the front, Tesos Skilias has basically put his foot down. He's absolutely going for it. The gap now increases to over a second on Marcel Miku. Marcel Miku closes in slightly on the braking, but you can see Skilias just gets better drive out of the corners. So the gap is bleeding once again from Marcel Miku's point of view up to 1.1 second. And now towards his kryptonite, the final chicane. He's gone off again. He can't do the final chicane. He just can't do it. All the time he's lost is basically just in the final chicane. And Jabalski, luckily for Marcel Miku, wasn't close enough that time. But if Marcel Miku makes another mistake at the final chicane this lap, Jabalski might be there to pounce. As I take a bit of hydrate, Marcel Miku's pushed too far, he's into the gravel. And Jabalski says thank you very much. Up into P2 goes the Honda Civic driver. And we have a Greek 1-2 now. In the reverse, but Marcel Miku, the car just doesn't listen to him over all these bumps. It's so frustrating for the Czech driver as he sees his 2 main championship rivals who run away from him. Go onward with Manos Tachakis. He's got a 13-second gap behind him, so there's nothing to worry about. All he has to do is to just focus on the rear of Stefan Coops, and maybe Marcel Miku, if he keeps making mistakes. It's not out of question that they are still fighting for potential podium here. But since the race has settled down slightly, I am just going to look at what happened at the start of the event. So first of all, Pagnetis just disappears. I'm not even sure if he jumped the start or whatever he did. Now Jack Smith got a perfect start, perfect launch. He was already up in P5 at this stage, but then what happened? Oh, he's been hit. He's just been murdered. Who was that? That was Leila Petralia on the inside, just complete opposite lock. And then, unfortunately, Kazulov also getting involved in that. So yeah, that is really unfortunate for Jack Smith to be involved in that, because he would have been up to P5 if that hit did not happen. So, but yeah, you can see there is Leila Petralia recognizing her error in the turn 1 and letting Jack Smith back pass. So Good sportsmanship from Leila Petralia, but unfortunately... Oh my, where? Oh, DRS is enabled apparently, but Marcel Miku is down to 7th. As we were watching the replays, Marcel Miku is down to 7th. And these two are actually fighting now for a podium position between Stefan Coops and Maynard Sachakis. What has happened there? And now Jack Smith, who got punted into turn 1, is hunting down the championship leader in Marcel Miku, who's struggling all kinds into the breaking points. How? And Marcel Miku is off again. There must be something wrong with the car, with the setup, with his wheel rig, his brake pedal maybe. The car has just been losing performance lap after lap after lap, and now Jack Smith tries to hang around the outside of turn 1. Marcel Miku this time fends off cleanly, but it's clearly something is not right with the Honda Civic of Marcel Miku. Well, we must go back into the replays, because what on earth happened to Marcel Miku? As my replay, oh, he had to the drive-through. He's cut too much. He's had to the drive-through. He must have done, what, 7 cuts in 20 minutes. That is utterly unbelievable for the reigning champion, who's cut the track 7 times in the, well, less than first half of the race. He still has 25 minutes to do. If he gets 7 more cut warnings, then he's going to do another drive-through. It's all gone downhill for Marcel Miku. It's been a turbulent week. He had P2 basically almost wrapped up at, well, yeah, at least P3 wrapped up at Jarama in F3, but a miscalculation in strategy meant in the end has to pit on the final lap of the race for fuel, and in the end he only finished P4. In the NX5s, he finished P2 and P3, I believe, so the podium streak continued, but he's lost the championship lead to Tom Wood, aka Twiz. And now Marcel Miku is set to lose another championship lead in the same week. It's been a torrid week for the Czech driver. But now he must do a comeback. The race is still long, and he can still at least salvage a P5. You can see the pace difference between him and Theodor Petru. Now down towards turn 7. Petru is actually defending this, because I guess why not? Petru is not really catching Thomas Coops. So after, so Petru has been dropped by Thomas Coops. So why not have a battle with our reigning champion Marcel Miku? You don't get to see Marcel this far down, as Taser Skiers just keeps setting purple lap times, and Petru closes the door on Marcel Miku, and they are still barging into each other, and this battle has quickly turned very, very red. Bumper car stuff there almost between Marcel Miku and Theodor Petru. Oh, we've got curb cam, interestingly. And also this camera, which looks very good as Marcel Miku. Now he's going to try to go around the outside of Theodor Petru in towards turn 1. Petru is not giving this one up. Petru dives the inside. Marcel Miku has to leave the door open. They keep it clean this time. They don't bounce off each other anymore. Turn 2 is a right-hander. Marcel has the inside line. Petru is trying to hang around the outside. He's been hit. And a bit of a clip from Marcel Miku. Petru saves the car, but look at who's there. Jack Smith around the outside of Petru. You don't want to be out there. There's less grip on the outside, which means Jack Smith has to back off and tail to Petru. For now, keeps P7. Jack Smith looking to the inside, a fake little dive to try to scare Petru offline. Oh, and Marcel Miku front! My goodness me! There must be something terribly wrong with Marcel Miku's vehicle. You don't see reigning champions make mistakes this frequently. You never do. And Sklias just sets fastest laps after fastest lap. The Greek driver has got it under control. Jabalski is still lurking though. 1.6 seconds is the gap between P1 and P2. And Petru gets on the grass on the exit, coming out of turn 9. And now they're going to go side by side down towards turn 10, the final chicane. Petru still has the inside line. Jack Smith will try to hang around the outside, which he can't. Petru fends off well, but Petru has gone off. He's gone deep, but Jack Smith has to correct his car, which means Theodore Petru still in P6 after all the onslaught that's been put on him by Marcel Miku and Jack Smith. He's somehow still holding on to P6. Battle for the final step of the podium. We've got Stefan Koops trying to defend for dear life here, and Sachakis is just that bit faster. Let's have a look at their past laps. And now, actually, let's focus on the race. Sachakis around the outside of the chicane. Stefan Koops is hanging there. Stefan Koops jumps the chicane. Stefan Koops is still on the inside in the final part of the chicane, and Sachakis has to give way. Is he going to try to hand around the outside of the final part of turn 7? Cutting back. Fantastic switchback attempted by Tsachakis. Absolute on the limit stuff. Now down towards turn 8. Tsachakis has the inside line. Tsachakis has the place. But now a switchback as Stefan Koops, the Dutchman, wants revenge. Down towards the final chicane. Tsachakis now fends off the middle line. And Stefan Koops has to go around the outside, and surely that won't work, but Sachakis braked a bit too late, but he's hit the impact. Fantastic. Brilliant from Manos Sachakis. We have a Greek 1-2-3 on our hands, but surely Stefan Koops is going to want revenge in the next 20 minutes or so, and we have a change for P6. Jack Smith has passed the hard defending Theodore Petru. And moving up into P6 is the pole driver. He probably has the pace to finishing P5, but now he needs to catch an 8-second gap, which is not going to be easily done in the next 20 minutes. In fact, Jack Smith got a poor run coming out of the final corner, and Petru had the chance to stand one there, but he was being sensible. Because there was definitely a chance of diving, and now Petru just locking up the rear slightly towards turn 2. And yeah, Sachakis actually dropped Koops slightly, the gap now over a second. Some very good late race pace from Sachakis as Koops just cuts that curb wrong. That's going to completely ruin his momentum. Well, actually, the gap stays at around a second. I thought it would lose a lot more time on that. So maybe sending it fully in, even with an option lock, is almost as fast as braking earlier. With less aggressive inputs, but the gap now is 1.1 seconds. It's all down to, well, which of these two drivers will make the fewest number of mistakes going into the final 19 minutes of the race. This final chicane does look very, very abrasive on the curb. As Petru now trying to go with Jack Smith, but they've got a recovering Marcel Miku right behind them. I just want to go back into the replay to see what happened to Marcel Miku in the chicane about here, I think. Let's go with this onboard camera into the chicane, jumps the first curb, jumps the second curb, and the rear of the car just wouldn't settle down. And also props to Marcel Miku for getting out of the racing line immediately instead of just parking it, I guess, in the middle of the track. There could have been a 3-car pile-up there because the exit is that close. Anyways, Where are we now? The lead is still 1.7 seconds for TCR Skileas. I feel like I have not stopped talking in this race, even though we only have 12 drivers remaining. It's definitely been an entertaining race so far tonight. But yeah, just checking the lap time because the best lap I did in practice was a 13.92. So I would not be having a lot of fun because I would be a lot slower than these drivers if I decided to race instead of stream tonight. So I'm happy that I've chosen to to stream instead of race at Zolder tonight. But my voice is indeed going after commentating MX5 just early on, and also TCR right now. It's a bit too much for my voice. It's already getting really tired. Anyway, the battle continues for P3. Stefan Coops has now stabilized the gap at around 1 second between him and Tsachakis. Marcel Miko, meanwhile, is now right behind Theodore Petru again. Let's go on board with the Civic driver, just walking the wheel into turn 1, having to control the slide. Don't want to touch the grass, want to touch the gravel. So both slow your exit down dramatically, and Petru just having a moment, having a slide on Marcel Miko going around the outside of Theodore Petru through turn 3 and now down towards turn 4. Marcel Miko around the outside. That's fantastic. He's done a brilliant move around the outside of turn 4 there, does the reigning champion. And now just a 2.7 second gap to bridge to Jack Smith. Let's see, into the chicane. If the car doesn't listen to him, and he's off again. I'm lost for words. He must be so frustrated right now. Whether it's setup related, whether it's some other technical issues. It's been really frustrating for the championship leader as well as the reigning champion Marcel Miko. He is set to lose a ton of points at the end of this round, considering it's a long round, it's double points. If he finishes P8, he's only going to get 28 points, while his biggest rival TCR Skileas is taking 100. That is a mammoth gap to have after 2 rounds at 72 points. And it just feels like season 17 may not be Marcel Miko's season. He's off again into turn 1. Something must be wrong. Be it setup, pedals. I don't know. It's bizarre. It's utterly bizarre. I'm not sure if he's going to join us for post-race interviews this time, because normally he does all the interviews. But I can't imagine how frustrated he is right now. He must be livid, but there's nothing he can do to solve whatever issue he's facing. It's very perplexing. Meanwhile, at the front, Skileas has increased gap to 2.1 seconds over, over Christian Jabowski. So yeah, Skileas is looking very good for his second victory of the season, and Jabowski just has to wait a bit longer. He's yeah, just second, the first race of round 1 at also Schreiber, and looks like he's set for second place again here at Zolder. Good couple of laps by Manos Tsachakis, who's dropped Stefan Coops. Now the gap up to 1.7 seconds between P3 and P4. Every time over these curbs and bumps, you can just see Stefan Coops also losing a lot of time and control on the curbs. You can see the gap or the time he's lost, half a second if you can't take that curve. You just have to be so aggressive and just hope the car will stick to the ground. And Marcel Michel's car just never sticks to the ground. Into probably his least favorite chicane of the calendar. This time he's done it better. And it's gained a lot of time actually, but I wonder, maybe in the earlier part of the race he was cutting too much to like avoid the curbs. That's why he got the penalty, of course, for probably cutting too much, which means he has to use more of the high curbs to try to go around that chicane potentially, which can explain why he's struggling for brakes. That one is for sure, because he's completely gone straight on at turn 8 there. And a bit of an error for Scalias maybe. Jabowski now closing the gap slightly into the chicane. Gap now 1.4 seconds. And yeah, Jabowski closing the gap by half a second last lap. I think Scalias hasn't gone slow, it's Jabowski who's suddenly gone faster. Scalias has been doing 37 once very consistently the last 3 laps. But Jabowski has found a 36 mid last lap and he's closing the gap now. Pressure on Scalias. Marcel moving well down the inside of Theodore Petrou. Ooh. Petrou closes the door, jumps the curb. Marcel just can't take that curve that aggressively like the rest of the drivers, so he has to wait. Jabowski's has the fastest lap of the race. The Poset has woken up a 136.464. I've just realized I've not changed the CMRT title. I am such a donut, so bear with me for 1 second. This is definitely not MX5. It's just been too much going on tonight with our Mav. We need Maverick to come back. Phoenix SimSport is such a chaos without Maverick. At least in the AC series. I don't know if the other series are as chaotic as the Assetto Corsa series, but yeah, when the boss is not here, all chaos ensue. Anyway, Marcel Michelin now right on the bumper of Theodore Petrou, who's gone deep into the final chicane, and for once Marcel Michelin is faster than the driver into the chicane. But now they battled hard the last time they met each other on the circuit. Are they going to battle as hard as they did in first time? Petrou goes into turn 1 very deep. Marcel Michelin being clever this time, going for the cutback, braking earlier, getting the better round. But now Petrou is still on the inside. Can Marcel Michelin close the door? Petrou leaves a space. Marcel Michelin makes a move. Back up into P7 goes the Czech driver, but look at the gap to Jack Smith. It's up to 8 seconds. And, oh, has his wheel disconnected. That's not a driver error. There's no way that is a driver error. Surely his sim rig is failing or something. Let's quickly go into the replays. So he's made the move. It could be screen freezes, you know? It could also be screen freezes. Because I'm also getting screen freezes. These TCR cars are very, well, very, how do you call it? Very intensive, I guess, is the word. Intense, probably, on the computer and the laptop and whatever device you're using to race on. So yeah, it could be screen freezes, it could be a big issue. I don't know if we're gonna get Marcel into the interview room, judging by how torrid his race is, but look at the lead. The gap is down to 0.8 of a second. We've got the laps car, I believe, going to the gravel. I heard a bit of gravel there in the background, but the lead gap is down to 0.8 of a second. It's all to play for in the final 8 minutes of this Zolder race, which has been absolutely fantastic. Jabowski locks up. And that mistake has cost him 3/10 of crucial seconds. Jabalski said to me yesterday that he would rather want me to race instead of stream, but I'm glad I decided to stream and commentate this race because with my pace I will be absolutely nowhere. But Jabalski's made another error into the final chicane. The gap now back up to 1.3 seconds. Sklias has this under control, kind of, but also he doesn't. The gap is tantalizingly just increasing and then decreasing and then increasing again. It's all about who can minimize the amount of lockups, be it front or rear, into the corners. 1.2 seconds separate the top two. Only 7/10 of a second separating the final battle for the final step of the podium. Just 6/10 now. Stefan Coops has recouped some of the pace that he had early on in the race and piling the pressure on Manos Sachakis again, and Jabalski, I think, has jumped that chicane better slightly. The gap down to 1.2 seconds. Into turn 8 this time, neither lock up, but the gap stays the same, 1.2 seconds. Into the final chicane. Very clean from Sklias. Let's go on board with Jabalski. Also monitoring the gap for P3, but now Sachakis has enlarged the gap slightly to 1.0. Jabalski using a lot of A-pass curve there into turn 1. That's not actually gained him any time, that's lost him a bit of time. The gap back up to 1.2. Oh, he's pushing the limit there, getting on the AstroTurf. Has to feather out of throttle. That's just gonna lose his momentum all the way down this next straight. He's got a better round through turn 4 though. 1.2 seconds is still the gap between P1 and P2. Into the turn 5 chicane, Jabalski mounting all over the curve. Could that have been a cut? Because look at the time he's gained on Sklias. But of course you get 6 lives before you get pinged for track limit and you have to take a drive through. So if you have lives remaining, may as well use them up, because you gain so much by cutting a bit more in that chicane and by avoiding the high curbs. So maybe whoever has got more cut warnings remaining to be used can gain an advantage here, but Jabalski has gone too deep again to turn 8. Every time he gets closer to Sklias, he just makes a mistake there at turn 8. And the gap now going back up to almost a second in the final chicane as Tachakis has regrouped and now has a 1.3 second lead over Stefan Coops. Sklias is just so good in the final chicane, isn't he? It wasn't just Marcel Mikkel being slow in the final chicane, it's also Taser Sklias absolutely nailing it in that final chicane. Jabalski's gone wide, he has to blip out of the throttle, that's just gonna lose him more time. He can see Sklias there, but he's just not close enough every time Jabalski gets close enough, he just makes an unforced error, and it must be so frustrating for Jabalski. If he wins this race, he's going to take the lead of the championship, but as it stands, he is going to be trailing Sklias by 48 points after 2 rounds. Into the turn 5 chicane, 3rd gear. This time Jabalski cuts a lot less and he doesn't gain any time. In fact, Sklias gains a bit on him, so the gap up to 1.4 seconds. I believe that must have been a cut for Jabalski last lap into the chicane. Well, there are only like 2 laps remaining, so if you do have warnings left to be used, you may as well use them now. As the battle for P3 is hotting up, down to 5/10 of a second. Now let's have a look. On board with Stefan Coops, the Dutch driver, piling the pressure on Manos Sachakis into turn 7. Coops brakes and turns into the chicane. He's gone into the corner on corner entry a bit wider, so he's gonna have a better turning angle there mid corner. And now down this short chute, down into turn 8, this tricky braking zone, you have to spot the mark and do not run deep. And a brilliant performance from Stefan Koops. Now Tsachakis is absolutely under pressure, and Jabowski is into the pits. Unbelievable! Unbelievable! That must be his 7th cut that we saw on stream in that chicane. And Jabowski has to take the drive-through. Where is he going to come out at? Where is Tsachakis? Tsachakis into turn 1. Jabowski is clear, just about. You can just see Tsachakis in the mirror. And Jabowski really, really lucky. He's still holding on to P2. My goodness me. We had 2 drive-through penalties for, I believe, at least from what I can see, for corner cutting. And both of them are championship contenders. That is utterly unbelievable. Oh, trouble for Stefan Koops. He got out of the chicane rather badly there. The gap is back out to 1.5 seconds. He now needs Tsachakis to make an error to make the move now. The gap is too big. There's not a lot of laps remaining. In fact, there's 1 left after the end of this one. So coming to the business end of the race, the lead battle that's been stripped from us because Jabowski has to take a drive-through for cutting too many times. But this track, it is very, very, well, it just invites you to cut it, doesn't it? All of these chicanes, all of these large curves. Wow, what a race it has been. Definitely not disappointed. We've seen all kinds of actions tonight. But I don't think a lot of positions will change unless Leila Petrali can do something about Theodore Petru. But I doubt the gap is, well, it's shrinking slightly. 1.5 seconds is the gap between the pair of them. As clears now into the final lap of the Zolder race. And he will take the championship lead by 48 points on Jabowski. Brilliant race, you must say, from TCR Skillet's point of view. He was battling with Jabowski on the opening lap after both got overtaken by Marcel Miku, who made that brilliant start and dived down the inside of turn 1, and Leila Petrali has now been given a drive-through for cutting. So yes, my real penalty does show me that, but sometimes I'm not looking at that part of the screen. As TCR Skillet comes out of the final corner and takes a 2nd victory of the season. Skillet is your race winner at Zolder for season 17 here at Phoenix SimSport in TCR round 2. And he will take the championship lead by beating Christian Jabowski, who despite the drive-through still comes home in 2nd. That just shows how fast he was, and he was so close of getting the win as well. We got Tsachakis, who put on a great show with Stefan Koops. The two were battling the whole race and keeping it clean most of the times, at least from what I saw. And Tsachakis will take, I believe, his maiden podium in the season. I don't believe I've seen this name last season. Or in the first round, in fact. I don't remember seeing this name altogether, to be honest, but of course I could be wrong since this is my first time commentating TCR series in a while. As Tsachakis finishes P3 ahead of Stefan Koops, Thomas Koops in P5, Jackson will come home in P6, ahead of what will be Theodore Petru in P7, and then Leila Petralia doing the drive-through on the final lap in P8. No, that's not actually a drive-through because you're crossing the line here, so yeah, she's been given a 60-second penalty because she got the drive-through on the final lap. As Marcel Miku, what a frustrating night. for the reigning champion. He was finishing P8 because of Leila Pachalia's 60-second penalty that has been converted from the drive-through. But that is huge points lost for what was the championship leader as well as the reigning champion. Well, that wraps it up then. Taser Skilias taking, in the end, a dominating victory from the timing tower. But we know that's not what happened. Jabowski put him under pressure throughout the whole event. But then, after the drive-through, still holds on to second place. It's a Greek 1-2-3 here in TCR tonight. And then just see if anybody wants to do an interview at all. So we'll just be on hold for now. I'll put the graphic on. There might not be an interview. Who knows? Well, doesn't look like anybody is doing interviews, so that's it from EHC. A brilliant Zolder race in the end, even though we only had 13 drivers. I believe most of them did get some sort of fights with somebody else. But yeah, we'll see you next Friday at Quick Mass again at 9 PM GMT time for round 3 at Autumn Park. Ciao ciao, good night everyone.